My dear brothers and sisters, today we commemorate a great saint, St.Junipero Serra. He was not a bishop, but a simple priest. He was born in Spain in the year 1713 and died in 1784. So roughly he lived for 70 years. St. Paul tells us to rejoice always. And these very striking words can impact our lives. This commandment resonates with the desire that all of us have to have a fulfilling life, a meaningful life, and a joyful life. But at the same time, we have everyday struggles in our life. So much seems to stand in the way of this invitation to rejoice. There seems to be so many hindrances and blocks for us to rejoice. And we get so much accustomed to our daily routine life to the extent that we become numb. And what can we do to change this numbness in our lives? Jesus says, he gives the answer. He said to his disciples, and he said the same to the saint that we are commemorating today, Saint Junipero Serra, and to all of us today, that is, go forth. The motto of the life of Saint Junipero Serra is always forward, never to look back. Always to forward, but never to look back. At the age of 35, from Spain on the ocean, he took a boat and came to Mexico. Imagine, you could never come back. By a small boat crossing an ocean, because he was called to evangelize. And his parents wrote a letter to him after he left the homeland, and he replied to them back, I hear the voice, I hear the call from God to go forth and evangelize. I look forward and I will never look backward. And I am telling you, I am never going to see you again. And until he died, he never saw his parents again or his family. So he left his country, he left everything, and he came to Mexico. And then those days, the state of California was part of Mexico. And later on, the government of Mexico sold the entire state of California to America. So he evangelized mostly in the state of present day California. And we could see in the video the image of Saint Junipero Serra now on the TV screen, and you will see so many churches that he built. So there are 21 missions across the beach in the state of California. And when I am saying a church, it is not a simple church, but they are huge. They are called missions, huge ones. I visited 6 or 7 of those churches that you are seeing. And he developed faith in all these people who have never heard of Jesus before. And when you are in the US, they are called native Indians. It has nothing to do with our India. But native Indians are the real people who were in America. But at present, America is inhabited by people of all countries, from all nations. But native Indians are the real people from America. And they were like tribal people and they never heard of Jesus. So, Saint Serra, he heard the voice of God. He heard the call of God. And while the spirit of the world is telling us to settle for what comes easy, faced with this human way of thinking, we must regain the conviction that we need one another, and it is a responsibility to proclaim the message of Jesus. And the message of Jesus is, go out to people of every nation. And Jesus sends his disciples and he commands them to go to people of every nation, to every people. We too were part of all these people of 2000 years ago. Jesus did not provide a short list of who or who is not worthy of receiving his message, his presence. Instead, he always embraced life as he saw it. In the face of pain, hunger, sickness and sin, in the faces of wounds, thirst, weariness, doubt and pity. And that's why he sent his disciples to every nation. And that was the call Saint Serra experienced in his life. And today, he is an example for us to go out, to reach where Jesus has not yet reached. And the reason that we are commemorating this saint today is that he responded to that call of Jesus. He believed that life grows by being given away and it weakens in isolation and comfort. And we are heirs to that bold missionary spirit of so many men and women who prefer not to be shut up within the given structures, not to close themselves like the tombs in today's gospel, looking after our own security. And that's why he shed his life to evangelize. And those days, on camel and on by walk, not camel, on walk, he traveled thousands and thousands of miles. And in this process, he was bitten by a worm on his left leg. And because of this pain, he was close to death so many times. And in spite of that, this failing leg, he continued to walk and evangelize. And it is said he baptized 6,000 people who never heard of Jesus before he met them. And my dear brothers and sisters, this person who died in 1784, more than 200 years now, he was on the news last week in the US, in the secular news, because the images of the saint, the statues of the saint are vandalized and brought down. Now you will see in the video what happened last week in San Francisco and Los Angeles, where the statue of the saint that we are commemorating today are brought down and vandalized and broken by the people. What is the reason? You see, in the United States today, lot of things are going on in the name of creed, in the name of color, in the name of nationality. So some people are accusing this saint, Serra, that he came from Spain and he destroyed the local culture of the people, native Indians. He destroyed their tradition, their way of life and everything. But the fact and the history is that these people who were uneducated, illiterate, Saint Serra not only brought religion and evangelization, but he brought with him all the advanced techniques of farming, agriculture, and education, medicine, everything he brought, because those days the native Indians, they were not used to live in a particular place. They were wanderers. But because Saint Serra built so many mission churches, the church became the center of not only spiritual and liturgical life, but also they started building up a social life which was not there before. Therefore, even though his ultimate purpose was to evangelize, but he also helped people to develop socially, economically, and in every sphere and aspect of life. And the same saint today is accused by these people that he came and destroyed the local and the original culture and tradition of the native Indians. And that's why it is a very, very sad thing to see that his statues are vandalized. Last week it happened, and one of these two statues is very close to the Golden Gate Bridge, which is a very old famous historical monument, and it is located next to that. And the Archbishop of San Francisco, couple of days back, with the priests and the faithful, went there and conducted prayers in the place. And now the bishops are planning to remove all these statues which are in the public places so that they can be protected and put them in the church campuses. So my dear brothers and sisters, as we commemorate this wonderful saint who sacrificed and who dedicated without any boundaries and limits, he is a witness to Jesus. And he was the embodiment of a church which goes forth and never backwards. A church which sets out to bring everywhere the reconciling tenderness of God. Saint Serra left his native land and its way of life. He was excited about blazing trails, going forth to meet many people, learning and valuing their particular customs and ways of life. He learned how to bring to birth the nature, God's life, in the faces of everyone he met. And this is the motto which inspired Saint Serra. Keep moving forward, no matter how many obstacles you face. And for him, this was the way to continue experience the joy of the gospel, to keep his heart from growing numb, from being anesthetized. He kept moving forward because the Lord was waiting. He kept going because his brothers and sisters were waiting. He kept going forward to the end of his life. Today, like him, may we be also able to say, I go forward and never backward. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit.